When a tree grows, it does not grow in one day. It reaches the sky, but only because it has spent countless days rooted in the soil. This is the way of nature, and it is the way of mastery. Too often people seek dramatic change. They believe the answer lies in one intense effort, one burst of motivation, one giant leap forward. But the truth is simpler and harder. Consistency, not intensity, is the true superpower. What you repeat, you become. Not once, not twice, but every single day. In the Shaolin Temple, we do not train for the applause. We do not train for the trophy. We train because each movement, repeated thousands of times, awakens something greater within us. A silent strength. People admire discipline, but where does discipline come from? It comes from showing up even when you don't feel like it. It comes from honoring the process, even when the results are invisible. It comes from trusting that every small step taken with intention becomes a path to greatness. Consistency teaches the mind patience. It strengthens the body. And most importantly, it shapes the spirit. This is why in the East, we say, dripping water hollows stone, not by force, but by falling often. So, ask yourself, can you be the one who doesn't stop? Can you be the one who returns to the path again and again when others give up? Because if you can, then you possess the greatest superpower of all. Not strength, not speed, but consistency, steady, quiet, unshakable. In today's world, people are obsessed with the concept of finding themselves as if identity is hidden somewhere, waiting to be discovered like a treasure. But this is an illusion. Identity is not found. Identity is built, and it is built in the silence of your repeated actions. Every day you wake up and choose to move forward. Even when no one is watching, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. Not by declaring who you are, but by proving it through action. And the more consistently you take those actions, the more solid and unshakable your identity becomes. You don't become a martial artist by reading about Kung Fu. You become one by practicing it over and over, until it becomes part of your being. When I first entered the Shaolin Temple, I believed discipline was something I could learn quickly, like memorizing a book, but I was wrong. What I found was that the true transformation didn't come from mastering a form or executing a perfect movement. It came from the act of returning to the same practice each morning, the same stances, the same meditations. It was this repetition that changed me. Slowly the body learns, then the breath aligns, then the mind begins to follow. But the greatest change is invisible. It is the shift in identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who tries to be disciplined. You become someone who is. And that is the power of consistency. It reshapes your self-image at the deepest level. The modern world distracts us. We are constantly bombarded with results. Six-pack abs in 30 days, fluency in 10 minutes a day, enlightenment in a weekend retreat. But all of this is noise. The truth is that identity is not created by intensity, but by ritual. Imagine a sculptor with a chisel. He does not strike the marble once with all his strength. No, he taps it gently, precisely, repeatedly. With each strike, the form becomes clearer. Your daily habits are the chisel. Your future self is the sculpture. If your actions are scattered, your identity remains formless. But if your actions are consistent, eventually something beautiful emerges. Something strong, defined, and unmistakably you. And this is where most people give up. Because consistency is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It is slow. It is often boring. But it is in this quiet rhythm, this sacred repetition, that true mastery is born. In Shaolin, we are taught, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. This means that every small act, how you clean your space, how you tie your shoes, how you greet the morning, reflects your inner world. When done with presence and done daily, these acts begin to write your story. You may not notice the change at first, but weeks turn into months, months into years, And one day you wake up no longer trying to become someone, because you are that person, built not by accident but by design, built not by a single choice but by 1,000 silent ones.
If you rely on motivation, you will move only when the wind is at your back. But if you rely on discipline, you will move even when the path is steep and the sky is dark.
Motivation is a beautiful spark. It is a flame that can light a fire in your heart, but like all flames, it is vulnerable to the wind. It rises in moments of inspiration. After hearing a powerful speech, watching an extraordinary performance, or encountering a vision of who you could become. In those moments, we feel invincible. We make bold plans. We declare that tomorrow will be different. But what happens when the mood changes? What happens when the energy dips? When life returns to its usual rhythm? That is where many people fall. They believed motivation would carry them to the finish line. But motivation is not made for long journeys. It is made for beginnings. This is why habits are sacred. A habit is not an emotional response. It is a decision anchored in repetition. It does not ask, do I feel like it today? It simply acts. And in that consistency lies freedom. At the Shaolin temple, there are mornings when the body aches, the muscles are sore, the mind resists. The cold bites at the skin before dawn. In such moments, motivation cannot be found, but the habit of rising, dressing, walking to the training ground, that remains. It is not a question, it is not a negotiation, it is a way of life. And the beauty is this: the more you honor your habits, the less dependent you become on fleeting emotional states. You no longer wait for inspiration, you become it. There is a reason the old masters trained every day, even after achieving great skill. They understood something modern people often forget. Mastery is not a destination, it is a rhythm, and rhythm must be maintained. If you only act when you feel good, you will become unreliable to others and to yourself. But when you build habits, you create stability. Habits become the roots of the tree. Storms may come, seasons may change, but the roots hold. Even when your confidence is shaken, even when doubt creeps in, your habits, the simple rituals you have built, will keep you moving forward. And this is where real growth happens. Not in the days you feel strong, but in the days you continue despite feeling weak. People often say, I want to change my life. But they look for the perfect moment, the right mindset, the right energy, the right day. That is the trap of motivation. It makes you wait. But transformation doesn't wait. It begins the moment you decide to act, regardless of how you feel. In our training, we say, it is not about doing what is hard. It is about doing what is necessary. The path of discipline is not always exciting. It is often repetitive, but in that repetition lies a secret, a power, because over time, those actions embed themselves into your identity. And one day you realize, you are no longer trying to stay on the path. You have become the path. This is the power of habit. And this is why, when motivation fades, as it always does, your habits must remain. We live in a world conditioned by speed. People expect transformation to happen instantly. They chase breakthroughs, overnight success, and dramatic changes. But nature teaches a different lesson. No tree grows tall in a single season. No river carves through stone in a single day. It is always the small, persistent action, almost invisible to the eye, that produces the most powerful change. This is a truth I learned during my early years in the Shaolin Temple. We didn't begin with flying kicks or complex techniques. We began with silence, with stillness, with one stance, held for hours. And it is in that simplicity, in those small moments of discomfort and discipline, that the body, mind, and spirit slowly transform. You do not realize it while it's happening, but over time, the changes become undeniable. Small actions may seem insignificant at first, especially when your goal feels far away. This is where many give up, not because the path is too hard, but because the progress feels too slow. But that is only a perception. What most fail to see is that every small action is a seed, and each time you repeat it, each time you water it with your effort, your intention, your presence, it begins to grow roots deep within you. The practice of waking up early, taking one breath mindfully, stretching for a few extra minutes, or finishing one more repetition in your form, these are not meaningless details. These are foundational blocks. Over time, they stack, they accumulate, and eventually they create something far more powerful than a single act of intensity. They create momentum. In the training halls, one of our core teachings is, don't seek to do more, seek to do less with more depth. The modern mind wants to multitask, to rush, to do everything at once. But mastery is not about quantity. It is about depth. It is about doing one thing with complete presence, again and again, until it becomes part of you. Imagine sharpening a sword. You do not slam it with brute force, you refine it gently, stroke after stroke, until it slices through resistance without effort. Your habits are the same. One small action done with awareness contains more power than 100 rushed efforts. But only the patient mind can see this. Only the humble student is willing to start small and stay small, knowing that over time, these small things become everything. Greatness is not a leap. It is a build, and the most powerful structures in this world, whether physical, mental, or spiritual, are all built with precision, not haste. In our daily routines, it is tempting to overlook the small choices: what time we wake up, how we breathe, what words we speak, how we move our body. But in reality, these choices form the architecture of our lives. One small action might seem easy to dismiss, but when repeated over weeks, months, and years, it becomes destiny. So the wise do not underestimate the little things. They honor them, because they know small does not mean weak. Small means foundational, and when done with devotion, small actions will always lead to great results. There is a natural temptation in the beginning of any journey to go all in, to give everything in one burst of energy, to prove your worth, to impress others, or to impress yourself. This is what many people confuse with strength. They believe that pushing to the limit on day one, sweating more than anyone else, or staying up all night in pursuit of a goal, means they are committed. But this is not mastery. This is a spark. A spark is bright, but brief. What you must cultivate instead is the fire that sustains. In the temple, we do not admire the student who performs with intensity once. We admire the one who trains with quiet focus day after day, even when no one is watching. True progress is not measured in explosions of effort. It is measured in your ability to endure, to stay, to repeat, and to rise again. Intensity is seductive. It feeds the ego. It feels powerful, but it is not sustainable. The body can only go so far before it breaks down. The mind, when pushed too hard, too fast, becomes scattered, and the spirit, if not nurtured, begins to doubt. Intensity often leads to burnout, not because the goal was wrong, but because the method was impatient. Endurance, on the other hand, is humble. It knows its limits. It respects the process. In Shaolin philosophy, we speak of flowing water. Water is not intense, yet it carves through rock. Water does not shout, yet it nourishes life. This is endurance, soft but persistent, quiet but unstoppable. When you understand this, you stop asking how fast you can get there. Instead, you begin to ask, can I keep going, even when the journey gets silent, long, and hard? Consider this: a person who trains with explosive effort for 1 week and then stops for a month has gained little, but the one who trains at 70% consistently, daily for years, will surpass them in every way. This is because the body and mind respond better to rhythm than to shock. Just like a plant cannot be flooded once and then left dry for weeks, your practice cannot survive on bursts. it must be watered regularly. This truth applies not only in martial arts, but in all areas of life, relationships, work, health, inner peace. Anything worth having is not gained through sudden effort, but by steady investment. That is what endurance is, an investment in your future self. A declaration that you are not just interested, you are committed. In life, the path will test you. There will be days when energy is low, motivation is absent, and obstacles appear without warning. On these days, intensity will fail you. It is endurance that carries you through, because endurance is rooted in purpose, not emotion. It does not rise and fall with how you feel. It is based on a decision made deep within, a vow to continue even when the flame of excitement has dimmed. In our training, we often say, don't count the days, make the days count. This means every day you return to your practice, you are winning, not because you trained harder than yesterday, but because you chose not to give up. That in the end is the true power, not the dramatic beginning, but the quiet continuation. In our modern society, speed is worshipped. We are taught to move fast, get results fast, and achieve fast, as if faster always means better. But what this culture of urgency often forgets is that real transformation cannot be rushed. True growth has its own rhythm, and that rhythm is rarely quick. You cannot force a seed to grow into a tree before its time. You cannot demand the sunrise to appear sooner. Everything in nature unfolds in its own season, and so do we. Patience is the ability to recognize this and to honor the process, even when results are delayed. In the temple, we are not taught to chase progress. We are taught to become still and allow progress to emerge from our commitment. This is not weakness. This is power, because it takes strength to keep showing up without evidence, to keep moving without applause. Many people give up on their path, not because they lack ability, but because they lack patience. They assume that if something doesn't work quickly, it doesn't work at all. But that is the voice of the impatient mind, a mind that has been conditioned by comparison and by the illusion of instant success. Patience, however, reveals a deeper truth. Everything that is meaningful takes time. If you observe a master, whether in martial arts, in art, or in life, you will see a person who has trained themselves to wait. They know that the first months, even years, may show little visible progress. But they also know that beneath the surface, something is happening. Muscles are learning, the nervous system is adapting, the spirit is being tempered. Patience allows you to stay long enough for the invisible to become visible. One of the greatest gifts of patience is clarity. When we rush, we become frantic. Our thoughts scatter. Our decisions become reactive, rather than intentional. But when we slow down and embrace patience, we gain the ability to see clearly. We are not trying to get through something. We are living within it. In Shaolin philosophy, we speak of the mind like still water. Only when the water is calm can you see what lies at the bottom. In the same way, only when the mind is calm, when it is not stirred by anxiety and urgency, can you perceive what is truly happening in your life. You begin to notice your patterns, your habits, your resistance, and this awareness becomes your power. With patience, you stop acting blindly. You begin acting wisely. Patience also connects deeply with inner peace. A patient person is not passive. They are powerful in a way that is not always visible. They have trained themselves to remain composed when others panic, to wait when others rush, to trust when others doubt. In our training, patience is not seen as an emotion, but as a skill. It is cultivated deliberately through long meditation, through slow forms, through enduring discomfort without complaint, and the reward is immense. Because when you possess patience, you cannot be manipulated by urgency. You cannot be broken by delay. You become grounded, stable, and free from the grip of time. This is why patience is not weakness. It is mastery of the self. And only those who master the self can master their path. When you look back on your life, It will not be the grand gestures that define you. It will be the quiet decisions, the early mornings, the silent repetitions, the moments when you chose to continue, not because it was easy, but because it was right. Identity is not something you are born with. It is something you shape, and you shape it not in a single moment of inspiration, but in the habits you choose to honor. Consistency is the hand that sculpts your character. Every day you show up, you are becoming the person you once dreamed of being. Motivation may visit you like a gust of wind, but it is discipline built through habits that will carry you across mountains. Do not be discouraged by the size of your dreams. Focus instead on the step in front of you, because small actions, when done with purpose, lead to great results. Intensity can be impressive, but it is fleeting. It is endurance, the quiet strength to continue that transforms. And to endure, you must have patience. Trust that your time will come. Trust that what you are doing matters, even if the results are not yet visible. So today, do not wait for motivation. Do not chase perfection. Simply return to the path. Take the next step. Do the work. Breathe. Because in the stillness of your effort, in the repetition of your discipline, you will discover it. The ultimate superpower was never out there. It was within you all along.